After I put the black settlement marker in, I was approached by 6 descendants of the Street family. They asked if I would help them to restore the cemetery. I said I would try. I contacted the bereavement authorities of Ontario. I gave the Haldimand County a package of information and deeds. I waited months and months. COVID hit, and I realized it was difficult. And then I followed up with a phone call. It took 2 days, and they returned a phone call to me. And we've been working ever since.
So currently, the county, as of last fall, has been working with the Bereavement Authority of Ontario and the Ministry of Transport, as well as, of course, the private property owner, to try and secure access to the cemetery on a more permanent basis. So we're looking to transfer the cemetery to the county from the private property owner. As well, we're looking to work with the Ministry of Transport to actually formalize the access to that site. It is an obligation if you do have a cemetery on your property or you find evidence of a burial site, that you do maintain it in order to make sure that, you know, those sites are taken care of in a respectful manner.
This is a very crucial site because it is freedom seekers and their family, and we're hoping that we can make this happen. We're very lucky to have Paul Racher with us today from ARA Associates. He and his team are the best in Canada.
It's a good idea to use an archaeologist because we're all about systematic techniques for locating things that have been lost for a long time, so it's kind of our jam.
Then the hard work starts to restore it to a pleasingly presentable appearance. Not overdone, not so that it would look like a modern cemetery, but as it would have been for the ancestors that rest there. We do have several very crucial sites here in Haldimand. Each one is unique in regard to geographical layout, the number of stones that are visible, and we don't know with the street site how many are buried beneath debris and moss and that sort of thing, and all that. It's a journey of discovery to bring back the dignity and the respect to these ancestors that built this area.
So I've already declared this spot here. This has been declared by the BAO as a cemetery. It's going through the licensing process. We've got the dimensions and the surveys done. The final stages, of course, is the easement going through, and then the clearing of the land and making it safe. Because right now it's not safe for the public, but when we're doing an inspection right now, you can take a look and see. We're pretty satisfied what's in there, but you never know. We might even find more burials than we haven't yet discovered. So generally speaking, with your experience, did you find that the bodies are in neat rows with the older cemeteries, or did you find it was happenstance where they found a spot they just buried people?
Typically, the older cemeteries are burying grounds. Really, it was mostly a matter of finding an open spot and putting somebody into it when you needed it.
We're trying to determine dimensions and size and figure out the capacity of a cemetery. We know that with the older cemeteries, the bodies can be in different places.
Yeah.
In this particular case, it's the same thing. They're spread out over about a 75 by 65 foot area in different spots. And I think in total we found about 12.
Yeah.
So
some people were so poor they couldn't afford to buy a lot. And sometimes also in the 19th century, they had things like cholera epidemics and stuff like that,
exactly,
where it was, they just needed to get people in the ground as soon as possible for hygienic reasons. And
okay. So we know the size and the various capacity. Now we need to determine the licensing, provincial registration, and ownership and who the operator would be. This in particular is actually changing to the hands of the county. So the private landowner will be turning it over to the county will take possession, and from this moment on, they'll actually own and operate it. If you want to come with me, I'll give you a quick look around. So forth, and then of course records, right? As we've made more searches, we find more records. I'm gonna punch right through right here. You can see they've marked a stake. Okay, Jenny? So that's one of the minor monuments that we found, a stone here marked with S. So it seems that's maybe the matriarch and patriarch had the big monuments. The rest of the family would get a smaller block. These are all broken, but I think originally they were probably about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet long, pushed straight down. We tried to mark all the ones that are in here.
Okay. So we got something over here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
What'd you find?
See just another headstone coming up.
Ah!
Looks like there's more of it here. Oh yeah, look, you got the willow motif on it.
Wow, that's awesome. And you're right, it looks like possibly 2 headstones. It's got writing on both. Can you read that from your angle?
Charity.
Charity.
Charity. Wife of
John
Harper.
About 6 years ago, my husband and I were heading for a farmer's market, and we passed an estate sale, and there was a painting hanging over the mantle. It looked old, so I took it down to take a look at it. It's probably worth a few dollars just to take it home and get a better look at it. So I bought it, and I brought it home, and I took the back off. In handwriting was the name Harper. I did start Googling the name plus painter, Harper plus artist, and after a few hours, I found some auction records from 2 different places, the main one being the Swan Gallery in New York. They'd sold several of his paintings. And they were very similar in style, so I took a photograph and sent it up there, and they were kind enough to respond and said, yeah, it looks like a Harper. And it just kind of snowballed from there. My name's Janet Nussbaum from Houston, Texas. Spent about 35 years practicing law, but I got interested in William Harper, and since I've retired, I've spent a great deal of time researching him. This package just arrived in the mail today. It contains a watercolor done by Harper. It was found in Austria about a month and a half ago, but it's been lost in the mail for the last 3 weeks. We know that Harper did a number of watercolors, but we've never actually seen any of those watercolors, so this is going to be a first. And as soon as I get it open, you can see it too. After looking in the census records, I finally found something in 1881 where William was living with a woman by the name of Lucy Street, and there were 2 other siblings, but I had no idea who Lucy was. After finding out the streets' names, I did a little bit more research and located a researcher from Canfield by the name of Sylvia Weaver.
William Harper's mother was Charity Street, and she was a daughter of Lucy and Stepney Street.
She was able to introduce me to a family history that had been dictated by, I guess, the eldest daughter of Lucy Street and her husband, and they were both escaped slaves. I mean, she must have been a fairly formidable woman. I'm just wondering about her impact on William as he was growing up. But then there was his father's parents, and they were also very interesting. And they were called, it was John Harper and Honor Harper.
The Harper family were one of the very early settlers that came to Canfield. John Harper, and he married a woman, Clothier was her last name, and she was from England. Charity died of childbirth fever. William was about 2 years old.
By the time he was about 11, the records indicate that he was in the U.S. He went to live with his father, and somewhere along the line, he got an education, and he spent 5 years at the Chicago Art Institute, which is a fairly prestigious art school. The far painting with the ruin in the background is the painting that I found in the estate sale, and it's a good example of Harper's early works. His early paintings, he seemed to fixate on trees. I mean, he'll have maybe a building in the background, but they are studies of trees more than anything else. painting on this side close to me is an example of his work in Mexico, probably the last year of his life. It took on a more impressionistic tone, and his actual paint became heavier. There's a term called impasto, which is the layering on of paint so that it kind of stands out from the canvas. And that's what you see more in his later works. Well, it has certainly taken longer for me to unwrap this than I expected, but it is now open. So, let's get a look at this painting. Oh, beautiful. So unlike his oil paintings. And yet, we see the colors that he used in his later life. Absolutely gorgeous. I want him to be recognized as a good artist because that's what he was. I don't want him to be recognized because he's a black artist. He's an artist who just happens to be black. Being able to get through school, get a full education, spend 5 years at the Art Institute, receive the acclaim he received from as many directions as he received acclaim, be held in such esteem by important people. Sadly, he dies in 1910 as he was sort of rising in popularity, becoming more renowned. He dies. Now, who knows what he would have done if he hadn't died? And here is the watercolor, framed and hung, here in Texas. When I first saw a photograph of this painting, I was a little bit concerned because although the signature looked right, the colors were so much brighter than the colors in his oil paintings. He was in many exhibitions and he was very well received, and now he hangs in the Met. Now, it took a while to get there, but he did.
When you look around, what you're seeing here is you're seeing large markers, which are minimal. There's probably 2 or 3, and you're seeing lots of the smaller markers like these ones here. And these would mark people that couldn't afford this one, but by the S, that's for the Streets family. And then as I'm looking around, I'm looking for things like what we would expect to make it safe and to clear it and to preserve it, because it will have access to the public and it could be dangerous. It makes it easier to declare a place a cemetery. If I can see monuments, I found corner posts and fencing, and then I was able then to find records. And then once I have enough evidence, we can declare it, this is a cemetery, it needs to be licensed, and it needs to be registered in Ontario.
Andrew, where's that burnstone?
I believe it's in this direction.
Harry Burns,
Yep.
Carrie Stewart. Harriet's brothers took the name of Stewart when they came across,
Right.
and her father was Henry Ross, and he took the name of William Henry Stewart.
Huh.
She was a daughter of William Henry Ross Stewart. Henry Ross was Araminta Ross, or Harriet Tubman's brother. And this is very important, periwinkle. A lot of black families would plant this. It's a symbol of everlasting life. It wouldn't grow in the wild. This had to be planted, and it just spreads because it's a rhizome. This probably started with a little patch, about the size of a saucer. With the sheer amount of periwinkle in here, this is a statement that this cemetery wants to live again.
Uncle Lorne's choir book. Song, Did You Stop to Pray This Morning? Did you stop to pray this morning as you started on your way? Did you ask the Lord to guide you, walk beside you through the day? Chorus. Did you think to pray this morning? Did you kneel just one moment today? Oh, the skies will be blue, 'cause he's walking with you. 'Cause he's walking with you. If you just remember to pray.
Right here I have my grandpa's songbook that he made, and he made it for the group. Oh, there's different ones, and I just remember, yes, I'm bound for the kingdom of the blessed and the free. My name is Wendy Ori, and I grew up in Hamilton, but for 4 years I lived in Cayuga, Ontario with my grandparents. There is nothing to compare with the glory over there. Oh yes, I'm bound for the kingdom. Do-do-do-do. That's the bass, guys. Of the free. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Wendy Ori is related to the Barnes family. Her mother was Betty Brown, and Betty's father was Lorne Barnes. He was known as Barney.
He ran a pretty prosperous garage here in Cayuga. I think it's just across the street.
Then another generation back would be William Andrew Barnes, and he was born in Canfield, and his father was the original settler, as that was William Alexander Barnes.
I know Grandpa, when he was in the First World War, he was a really good shot. He didn't want to kill anybody, though. When they called him over and the guy wanted him, he said, show my sergeant to shoot this and shoot that. So Grandpa said he lined up, and then he slightly went off and shot, and he kept doing that. And so his immediate advisor's like, get back in the line. But he was part of the number 2 construction. He didn't have to kill a single person, so he was very grateful, and he came back alive. He loved Canada. He was an incredibly proud man to be Canadian. He was well loved by the community and honored, and his dad, and his dad. Grandma wanted to be a nurse. She was a straight A student, but because of the times, career was not even there for her. So she lived it out through my mom, Betty. She was the first Black nurse to break the racial barrier at the Guelph General Hospital School of Nursing. And she's the 3rd Black nurse in all of Canada. My mom, she was the coolest, squarest person you ever wanted to meet. She was an amazing lady, the matriarch of our home. This was one of my mom's greatest prized possessions, a quilt that was from the slaves era, which they used to basically hide in plain view and told messages of people that wanted to escape or that they were looking to escape with Harriet to get to freedom, so freedom seekers. So you couldn't just, they couldn't talk or discuss these things. And so they would do and have messages in the quilts. There's a elk on a purple background. I'm not sure what that means. This one's really unique. I like this because you've got the embroidery, and then you can see in the background with a dark, like a charcoal, it looks like a rabbit. This is a crescent moon. That could be the North Star. Like, there's so many different things. There's a lot of grasses and tree and leaves and branches. Are these for hiding? There's words, Saint Cath. You notice it's not finished. Why is that, right? This says Albert Association, whatever that means. Then there's a rabbit that's painted on velvet that's upside down, and it goes on and on. Every time you look at it, you see something new. All these things, it's a living story. Nothing was wasted, ever, ever. It's sort of like our food, right? They made soul food from the scraps of the master's table and made it into a cuisine. You took what you had and made the best of it. So this is my family record. of Stephan Street and Lucy, Canada, and they are escaped slaves. They were born in 1807 and 1813. And this is a record of their 13 children. Their firstborn, Henrietta Street, actually married to William Barnes in July of 1858. And this family is the family that is buried in the cemetery behind the North Cayuga Baptist Church.
A lot of my research came from Betty Brown and Michael Conkle. Mike came to me, called me. He brought a binder to me, and he told me about how the efforts that Betty and he had done to try to restore the cemetery and have access to it.
My mom really made it her mission to get that grave site up to par.
She wanted to get her ancestors, get their graves fixed up. And I wanted it too. She called me one time and she'd been doing research. She'd been looking into Harriet Tubman's will, and she found out that Harriet Tubman's favorite niece was buried there. And I thought, that's sort of like a cherry on top of the sundae type of thing, you know. It's pretty neat.
In 2017, I was able to go with Della, my daughter, to the grave site. I remember coming in, and there's only that grove of trees, and so you walk in, and if you go into that place, and then there's a huge oak tree there, and aim for that, and you just start going through, and you just start pawing the ground, and your eyes take a while to get adjusted to everything. And then I said, you know, Del, these people, born slaves, but they died free. And it was just perfect because it was sunset, and right at that time, underneath that oak tree, the sun just beamed in, and it just lit up, and Della was just so moved, and she just started to pray right there and just thank God for these people and what they did for her. What they did for me. Let me stand where no one, oh, stand